When does a photograph become a photograph? Is it merely just a collection of ones and zeros? Well, for me, the photographic process isn't complete until I've made a print. Good morning, welcome to Dartmoor, and this morning I have come to East Mill Tor to do a couple of things. I want to achieve a couple of things in this video. First of all, I'm here to obviously capture some landscape photographs. I've got a beautiful scene in front of me here which I'm going to talk you through. So I want this video to hopefully obviously inspire you to get out with your camera as well. But also I'm going to, as well as showing you, be capturing this image, I'm also going to go back home and we're going to print it off and I'm going to frame it and I'm going to mount it on the wall. Because for me, printing is an absolutely, well, it's the most important part of the photographic process. You know, what's the point in taking all these photographs that are just going to sit in your hard drive and just be a collection of ones and zeros? So I'm going to print it off, I'm going to frame it, I'm going to mount it on my wall, and not only is it going to hopefully be a nice thing to look at, but it's obviously going to inspire me and my landscape photography, because I want to capture a memory here. I want to remember what it was like to be here and capture some of the things that inspire me to come out to Dartmoor and, you know, get up at silly o'clock in the morning to capture these images. So I want to have something that I can really be proud of and hang on my wall. So hope you're going to join me in this little adventure. We'll capture the photograph, I'll talk you through the composition, we'll go back, we'll print it, we'll mount it, and hopefully this will not only encourage you to go out with your camera and capture landscape photographs, but maybe if you're not printing your work yourself, maybe inspire you to start printing some of your photographs. There are many locations in Dartmoor that I could have come to create this photograph that I was going to put on my wall, but I've chosen East Mill Tor. And actually I discovered this particularly this location, this composition I should say, a bit by accident. I was out walking my dog Monty one morning and happened to stumble across it. It was actually really unexpected, great morning light. Did a little 5-minute photo adventure. I'll pop a link for that up in the corner of the screen. But I did a bit of a grab image with a Nikon Z7, but I really liked the composition and I wanted to come back. And what appeals to me about this particular composition, because it's got a lot of the things I love about Dartmoor, and if I'm going to create a photograph and a print, I'm going to put it on my wall, I want it to have some of those key things that inspire me and my photography on Dartmoor. And one of them is actually the change in light. It was cloudy a minute ago, it's got bright again. So first of all, we've got East Mill Tor, or part of East Mill Tor there in the back. And we've got the layered rocks there, which will catch the light. But the thing that I really particularly like about this composition is it's got something different, something I don't often see, and that's this pool of water here, and it's got some of those nice grasses coming out. So it's got a lot, and we've got the background, and we've got the grasses, and it catches the light from that morning sun there. But I'm going to talk to you now about how I place these objects in the frame. On paper, this should be a really easy scene to shoot. I've got a bold foreground subject with the water, and then I've got the Tor in the background. But for me, I come up here and I want to take a little bit of time exploring the relationship between this foreground water here and that background Tor. So some of the things are, where in relation to the Tor do I place this water? So moving the camera to the left and to the right changes the position and the angle that water has with that Tor. Now what I've found is if I come off to the left or to the right, it does open up the scene in the background a little bit, but I find it makes it a little bit unbalanced. I think I prefer to have the water more central, and that leads out to the Tor, which also sits central in the frame. I think it's a bit more of a balanced composition. The other thing I was looking at as well was heights as well, the height of the tripod. So what I've actually been doing, I should say, is before I even put the camera on the tripod, is I walk about with the camera. That makes it much easier to do these kind of experimentations. So what I found is if you go low down with the camera, that changes the size and almost the shape of the water. As you go lower, you get a lower angle at it, so you see less of it. Higher up you come, the bigger it actually looks. So it's again, finding that balance between the size and the shape, and finding the right height as well. Focal length as well has been a bit of not a tricky one, but one worth experimenting to. going really wide angle, close up to the subject. But what that does is when it's very wide angle, yes, you get a lot of the water and it looks big and bold, but that pushes out the perception that the Tor is further away, so it looks smaller in the frame. So I've decided to come a little bit further back from the water, use a slightly longer focal length, and that gives the impression that the Tor is a little bit closer to the water. And it also allows me to capture a little bit more of the foreground just in front of the water, because I want that to be, I want to have the grass around there as it catches the light. Also, depending on what the sky is going to do, might actually catch the light because the sun's almost there now, catch the light on some of the cloud as well. But if not, I'm just going to position that Tor a little bit further up in the frame, so I don't have to worry much about the sky if there's not a lot of interest going on there. So that's the kind of autonomy of the shot. That's the kind of things I've been practicing with, moving the camera about up and down, left and right, trying different focal lengths, just so I find I've got the balance correct in this composition. But I think I'm now ready. I've got the camera on the tripod. I think it's time to capture some photographs because I'm getting some nice light from that morning sun. Everything's in place. I've got the camera and the tripod, I've got my composition sorted. I'm just waiting for that light to pop above from behind that cloud. It's going to give me some nice light on this water here, on the grasses, on the Tor. There's a little bit of cloud in the sky. Oh, there goes the sun now. I've got everything. All the elements are here to hopefully, fingers crossed, capture an image. I can't wait to get back. This is a beautiful scene. Can't wait to get back home and print it off. There's something magical about watching a photograph that you've captured and then watching it roll off the print, and I can't wait to share that moment with you. But let's capture the photograph first. Focus on the timer, 3 seconds. There it goes. Oh, brilliant. Keep on capturing some more images. The light changes, its relationship between the sky and it breaks through, and which parts of the scene it illuminates. It's an exciting time capturing landscape photographs on Dartmoor, and hopefully this image that I'm going to capture today is going to be a constant reminder of why I come here. What a fantastic morning of photography. The conditions have been brilliant for capturing landscape photographs. It's windy and it's cold for sure. I've had to put hand warmers in and everything, but what a place to be, what an experience. And it's just, Dartmoor is magical when you get mornings like this and you're out here with your camera capturing landscape photographs. But I cannot wait to get home. And it's not just to get home and have breakfast and a cup of coffee, which I'm really looking forward to, but it's actually going home and making a print, because I think I've managed to capture some really great scenes that I'm going to be proud to hang on my wall and act as that source of inspiration to help me get up in the morning and remind myself why I'm a landscape photographer. And I can't wait to share the experience of creating that print with you as well, because I think for me, certainly for me, it is one of the most important, if not the most important part of the photographic process. And hopefully you'll see me print that image and maybe you'll be inspired to print your photographs as well. But I will see you in a minute where it's hopefully a little bit warmer. Welcome back. Well, that was a cracking morning of photography. I tell you what, when all the elements come together, that doesn't happen very often, and it happens even less when I'm making a video. So I'm just really happy that I was able to take you along on that experience and share that morning with you. So what we're going to do next, so we're going to talk briefly about image selection, because obviously I took a few images that morning, so I'm going to tell you roughly about how I selected my final image that you saw up on the screen just a minute ago. I'm also going to talk about printing and paper selection, and then obviously once we've made the print, we're going to put it in its mount, into its frame, and then we're going to hang it on the wall there just behind me. Now you also may notice that I hadn't mentioned post-processing. This is because I wasn't really going to touch on post-processing at all in this video. I'm still not. The reason being is my post-processing technique hasn't changed very much at all over the last few years. It's pretty light touch, pretty basic stuff really. But I recently came across a product called DxO Pure Raw 2 and I decided to give that a try. So rather than just link to my previous post-processing video, which kind of covers everything I normally do, I've created a separate video which takes you through the entire post-processing step-by-step of what I did to this image, and also how I tested it with DxO Pure RAW. So if you're interested either in how I processed this image or DxO Pure RAW 2, check out that video. I'll include a link for it in the corner of the screen or in the video description below. So check that out. Other than that, I think we need to talk about image selection next. I probably took around 30 or so photographs that morning. So how did I get from 30 photographs down to this one that I'm going to print and hang on my wall? Well, I went through my standard process, which is obviously get the images into Lightroom, and I do a quick scan through and I pick flag which ones I potentially might want to edit. And that got me down to about 10 or so. And then I had a look at those 10 images and tried to decide which ones had the elements or the look that I was hoping to get from this photograph. And that really kind of narrowed it down to about 3 or 4 photographs. What I was looking for was light, so we needed to have light on the ground, on those grasses, on the Tor, and also I was looking for how the clouds formed in the sky. Some of the earlier images didn't have any clouds, some of the later ones the clouds had dispersed again, but those kind of middle set just as the sun was rising, I had a nice bank of cloud over the top of the Tor. And what I did was, once I got those 3 images down selected, I did a rough edit on them, and then to try and help me decide how or which image I was going to take forward, I printed them off. So what I've done is I've got 3 photographs here, all printed off in Fotospeed's panoramic paper. And I find this is a really useful way of using the panoramic paper, is to do multiple image prints. It helps me look at them side by side. And I find that I've always talked about it. I thought I don't just print I just don't print photographs that I'm going to hang on the wall. They don't have to be masterpieces. For me, printing is all about spending time, quality time, with your photographs, and looking at them in paper is a very different and a more engaging and an enriching experience than it is just looking at them on the computer screen. So I quite often just print images that never make it onto the wall or anything like that. It's just about, it's also about learning from those photographs as well. And I learned quite a lot from looking at those 3 photographs together, because I could see them, how the scene had changed. And really, though the foreground was largely the same in those in terms of its illumination and what you could see in terms of composition, the thing that changed for me looking at them side by side was the movement of the cloud as it went across the sky. So I had the first one, which is really kind of like the perfect formation of the cloud. It kind of runs in the same shape as the Tor and the background. And then just slightly later on, that cloud just starts to dip and it starts to touch the Tor. And then later on, I think the third image, the cloud is starting to disperse. You don't get that even distribution of the cloud. So that's really how I got there, is like by looking at these images all side by side and spending a bit of time with them in printed format, I was able to look for these fine details rather than just kind of switching between them on the screen. So I think, you know, even if you don't have like Fotospeed's panoramic paper to do this, you know, you can do multiple image prints on an A4 page, or just print them all off an A4 and then move them about. As long as you're printing them, I think it's a much better viewing experience, and it allows me to more effectively select which image I'm going to print and put on that wall behind me. Let's talk about paper selection next. Now, people often ask me, Julian, what's the best type of paper for these types of images? Well, there's not a straightforward answer. It's not one size fits all. The thing I always suggest is get a bunch of paper. Fotospeed, for example, do a lot of test packs. They're a great way of sampling lots of different paper types and finding the ones that you like. I have a number of different stocks of paper that I keep here. I'm going to be printing this photograph in A3+. This limits me because these are the papers that I've got in A3+. It's Platinum Cotton 305, Legacy Gloss 325, and Platinum Barita 300, I think it is. They're all Fotospeed papers. I'll include a link for the Fotospeed website in the video description below. Do get some test packs, so like I say, a great way of sampling paper. So I have printed them all off. If I have a look at some of the examples here, which one's this? This is Legacy Gloss here, one of my favourite gloss papers. I also, the panoramic paper that I did as well, that was Platinum Barita 300. And where's the other one I got? Oh, is this it here? Yeah, I think this is the Cotton 305 here. Now, for me, they all look great. I've got proper profiles, paper profiles for each of these paper types. So they almost look identical. I think though, for me, I'm going to want to print this in matte paper. So this is the Platinum Cotton 305, which is a smooth matte paper, which I really like. I think it's the one Joe Cornish uses actually. So that's just down to personal preference, nothing else. I think I want to do this photograph in a matte paper. So that's what I'm going to print off my final image. It doesn't matter that that one's an A4. You can get a real good idea of how it looks. So that's what I'm going to print off an A3 Plus and then get it into the frame. So why don't we, wow, I think we do the big bit now, the exciting bit, and that's make that A3 Plus print of that photograph of East Mill Tor. I am now ready to make the print. I'm super excited about this one, I have to say. Now, my printing workflow is relatively straightforward. I use Canon's professional print and layout software, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter what you use, whether you use the print dialog in Lightroom or even in Photoshop. It's the printer that does the hard work, so as long as you set that up properly, you'll get great results. So for me, inside the software, it's relatively straightforward. I just go in, first of all, and select the paper type that I want to use. I've already used Canon's media configuration utility to define all the different paper types that I have. So when I select Platinum Cotton 305, it automatically selects the relevant and correct ICC profile for that paper and printer. The next thing I want to do is to select the paper size, which is A3+, because I want to make a big print, or the biggest print I can do with this particular printer. And then I select the print quality, which I'm obviously going to set to highest. So if this is going to be a print that I'm going to hang on my wall, why wouldn't I do the highest print quality? And really, after that, the only thing I need to adjust then is the print margins. So this is the difference between the paper size and how much of that paper is actually used for the print itself. I like to try and use as much as possible of the paper, but I like to leave myself somewhere between sort of 10, 12, 13 millimeters border around that paper. It just makes it a little bit easier to handle, so you can pick it up without touching the printed surface. So that's all set. All I have to do is click print and I'll watch the magic happen. I've got my white gloves on, that means I'm going to be handling the print. I've just grabbed the print here. You saw it coming off the printer. There it is there. If I sit back a bit, try and get it all in frame. I think it looks brilliant. I am very, very happy with this. I forgot to tell you actually, the printer that I'm using today is a Canon Pro-300, an imagePROGRAF 300 to give it its full title. If you want to hear my thoughts, I've done a video, kind of a deep dive video on the Pro-300. I'll include a link for that in the video description below. There's lots of links in the video description below now, isn't it? It's going to keep you busy. But it's done a fantastic job. It's all been set up right, because I've used a custom profile for this different paper, all the image editing, everything that's gone into making this print what it is has shone through here, and I'm super happy with it. But now it needs a home on my wall, so let's talk about frames. For the last few years, I've been using a company called Picture Frames Express to get my frames. I'll include a link for them in the video description below. And one of the reasons I use that company is because they've got a custom frame designer software on their website. So it's quite easy. You go to the website, you click in Frame Designer, and you can enter all the specifications of the frame of how you want it. And they've got loads of options as well. But really, the critical thing for me is all about the mount and the aperture of the mount. And the aperture is a hole in the mount that lets your print be seen. So that aperture needs to be the same size as the printed surface on your paper. Not the size of the paper, but the actual size of the printed surface. And what I tend to do is I just make the aperture maybe 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters slightly smaller than the actual printed surface. So this just gives me a little bit of leeway when it comes to lining up the mount on the print. Because if you do it too exactly, it can be a little bit tricky to get exactly right. So I just a millimeter or two. And then once you've got your mount, you can change the color of the mount board, how thick the borders are, and then you can go in and choose your frame style, so whether it's wood or what color that wood is. You know, there are loads and loads of options, and you can do it for any picture size you want. They'll just build it and send it out to you. Now, I already know exactly the type of frame and the specification that I want, because it's going to match to the previous frames that I bought that I have for pictures that hang on my wall. So they're all going to look exactly the same. So I've already punched in the numbers and submitted my order, and then I'll get that frame back. When I do get it back, it's a relatively straightforward process to get the print and get it mounted into the mount board and into the frame. Now, if you want to know how we do that in a bit more detail, guess what? Yeah, I've already done a video for that. So I'll include a link for that in the video description below. I've also time coded that link, so it'll take you straight to the place where you see me taking the print, putting it into the mount and into the frame and stuff like that. So you don't have to skip through the rest of the video. Though I always recommend you watch the entire video. So cover that off there. So I'll get that done. So when you join me again next, we'll be ready with the final print in its frame, ready to put on the wall. Hello and welcome back. So here it is. I've got my frame here, I've got the print put inside it, and I have to say I'm really happy with the result. I think it looks great. Got my blank space here on my wall. Do you know what the next step is? That's right, let's get it on the wall. The photograph's rightful inheritance. Well said, Charlie. I'm immensely happy with the result here. It's just so satisfying to know that I went out, I planned that shoot, I captured the photograph, I came back, I post-processed it, I printed it, I put it in a frame, and I mounted it on the wall. For me, that is not only a great source of inspiration, but it's also a great reminder of the beauty of Dartmoor. Because when I started out to capture this image, I wanted to capture a photograph that reminded me of Dartmoor, and that photograph definitely does that as well. So every time I come down here in the morning and it's dark and I'm about to head out to Dartmoor and I'm maybe not feeling maybe as enthusiastic as I could be, I'll see that picture when I come and get my camera bag, and I'll be reminded of the possibilities that landscape photography gives you if you're just willing to put in the effort. And also, it's a great background as well. I sometimes make my videos here as well, little episodes on my bookshelf, and that will look great in the background. But you may be asking, do your photographs deserve to be printed? Well, of course they do. I'm not suggesting your photographs can't be enjoyed on your display, on your laptop screen or on your monitor. But printing your images and then looking at them, it's a much more rewarding and much more engaging experience looking at your photographs in printed format. And they don't always have to be photographs that you know that you're going to frame and hang on the wall. You can just print for fun. Leave your prints lying about, because when you pick them up and you look at them, you'll not only learn from your photographs, but you'll enjoy them in a whole different way. So there is a lot of things to enjoy about printing your work, and I hope by watching this video you'll not only be encouraged to go out and capture your own photographs, but also to make some prints. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this video and it's inspired you to make the most out of your photographs, to celebrate your photography. Because for me, this has been a celebration. It's been a celebration of Dartmoor, landscape photography and printing. And I really do hope it inspires your photography as well. But if you're looking for more inspiration, I'm popping up a couple of links to videos about photography and printing talks. If you remember, there was a quote at the beginning of this video and just at the end of the on location bit. Well, those quotes came from the two videos that I'm popping up on the screen just now, so they're well worth checking out. But I do hope you have enjoyed this video and you will join me in the next one. I really appreciate you spending all this time with me. Let me know in the comments below, do you print, do you not print? Let me know, let's have a discussion. I do like reading and replying to all your comments, so I would like to see a comment from you below. That would be fantastic. And of course, like, share, all that good stuff. But until the next video, I'll see you then.